Hello and welcome to the AI Summit London. My name is Ray Duquid and I have the fortunate position to be introducing Alina, founder and CEO of Unique.Bold.You. Thank you very much for joining me just now. For the folks at home, if you were able just to give a little bit of background on how you got to Unique.Bold.You.
Thank you so much for having me here today. So I'm Alina Timofeeva. I'm a senior advisor in technology and AI. And the idea behind Unique.Bold.You is essentially accelerating the inclusive adoption of AI, which, as you know, is very important. It's thinking about the societal level behind it. It's making sure that we use AI in an ethical way. But my background is consulting in technology from Accenture, KPMG, and Oliver Wyman. And fundamentally, I have seen the challenges the customers have, on a day-to-day basis. And I'm always very much focused on the human in the loop rather than a pure technology.
Good. And do you think, jumping straight into it, are companies investing in AI for value, or do you think it's because there's the fear of missing out?
So I do feel that AI was a little bit oversold last year. If you remember, there was a big hype in terms of AI will change our lives, the lives of NHS and beyond. But fundamentally, what I see, the companies have been investing, to keep on top of the race. And by companies, I don't mean only the customers like the banks, for example, but even the technology providers like the Google, the Microsoft and beyond. We see that they are putting a lot of money into the data centers and beyond, assuming that this is going to bring their ROI. And if I think from the board's perspective of a customer like a bank or any organization, before you start doing anything, just ask a simple question: is it worth the juice? Because ultimately, it's about creating the value for you and for the team instead of burning the money up front.
And from your experience, do you think that, for every dollar you're putting into AI, do you think how much of that is going on people transformation?
Yeah, so I feel technology is probably $1 and the people, the value, the change is probably 5. So what used to happen is a lot of the money was put into the technology up front, but now we are realizing that the processes need to be reimagined, changed. The roles of the people need to be changed. And also it's a lot about the resistance, which you may have in the team. So it's a lot about upskilling, reskilling, learning and unlearning. I believe that humans are in the very forefront because the machine can, suggest, implement, but it's us as humans who need to stay in control.
So, and just touching on the human aspect there, how do people stay employable within this AI era?
I feel that something is very keen for them to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And what we've seen before with the IBM, when they introduced the computers, some of the secretaries, they upskilled themselves, they became executive assistants. So what I see is a lot of the focus is not purely on technical skills, but also on their influence, on their impact, on the softer side, and the curiosity behind it.
And, with the human side of AI still in the forefront of our minds there, what should we not be delegating to AI?
Of course, there are some of the tasks which may impact our dignity. So, for example, if I take promotions or, reskilling, upskilling, or perhaps replacing the individual, so some of these core HR questions. What is important is to think that AI is one of the ways to make your work more effective, but not to replace us and our human judgment. Saying, if it's something which has to do with a war, for example, with something which can result in bad consequences, there should always be a human in the loop.
Yeah. And as AI becomes more capable with that thought, what becomes, more valuable within humans?
I feel that one of the key strengths of the softer side, so it's the ability to build their influence, the ability to learn, the ability to be curious about what you are doing. And I feel that the tasks are going to change, right? What we are doing is going to change, maybe not even fundamentally as in some areas, but in any area there is going to be an impact. So it's this ability to have more of a human softer side as much as possible.
Leading into AI, and can it support the global sustainability effort?
So there is a big impact of AI on the water and the energy. In fact, some of the recent reports by United Nations warn that, the energy consumption in the water is going, way too much by 2030 and way more than planned. One of the biggest things is we are going to use so much AI that the impact is really very big. So I feel that it's not necessarily lowering the sustainability, and we need to start thinking right now what is the impact and trying to think about some of the solutions to maintain sustainability within the limits.
And from your opinion, do you think AI will reduce inequality as well?
I mean, there is a lot of discussion both globally and in the UK that there is a potential to increase the inequality. So, for example, if we think globally, just a few countries have so much access to AI, to the tools like GPT, for example, which is super expensive when you want to pay for it to get the results. And then there are more than 123 countries which are perhaps not even, part of some of the key conversations around the governance. So globally, there is a big difference, and there is a lot of conversation about colonization, essentially. And in the UK as well, there are different discussions around, some of the more upskilled people who have access to their education and to AI, and perhaps those whose jobs will be more impacted.
Earlier, you talked about, banking and financial institutions and how they're adopting AI. It can't be ignored, the subject of data sovereignty and governance for these institutes. Why is that such a broadly concerned topic for them?
Yeah, so if you think about the banks, they hold all the customer data like yours and mine, which is, personal identifiable data. And it's super important when it goes into the AI, which does make mistakes, that we are aware of the potential reputational consequences or financial consequences. And then, of course, with the data, as we train the algorithms, we should make sure that it's very, it represents the different humans behind it. So data governance has never been so important because it's feeding into the algorithms, but more importantly, into the decisions that impact our lives.
And going one step further, within that financial regulation and AI, how do you think going forward they are going to work in tandem?
So there is so much effort right now on AI audit. And this is something which we have been advocated with the Chartered Institute for IT, for example, with the UK government. So with the regulation, it's not going to slow down the innovation, but it's going to help as much as possible. What I see with the risk functions, for example, is that they're becoming more on the forefront. So instead of being purely the compliance, they are, again, helping the bank to achieve the value. So some of the things which I talked in the very start, we have to enable the transformation for our people, but we need to ultimately think about the value.
Thank you so much, Alina, for your time and for those great insights. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rui Jukid, and this has been the AI Summit London.